It's your daily dose of Donna. Happy Monday. Happy Monday, September 11th. You know, I've been thinking about this because I knew we were going to do a show on September 11th, and I've actually never had this podcast on a September 11th before. So 9/11, 22 years. We have to always think about what happened on that horrible Tuesday morning in New York City and other states, but really the world. It affected the world. 9/11 changed so many people's lives, changed my life for sure. I was a 21-year-old college student in Santa Barbara, UC Santa Barbara, go Gauchos, woke up to the news. And it affected me and so many other people. So my thoughts are with anyone who has been personally affected by 9/11, and our country has never been the same. So I never forget, never forget. But let's move on now that we said that, which is always a little bit, hard to start a show like that, but you can't not talk about 9/11 when it's 9/11. We are going to get into today's show. For those of you guys that are new here, my name is Donna Bowling. I have been running the show since January, and every single day, so many new people are joining the Doser community. My Facebook group is really blowing up. It's been so much fun. Go over there and join that Facebook group. Of course, thanks for following over on TikTok and Instagram and subscribing on YouTube. And if you're listening, and even if you're not listening to the audio version, go on over to Apple Podcasts or Spotify or wherever you're listening, subscribe, follow, and give it a 5-star rating, because those things are very important to grow a show. And, I've told you guys this. We're not showers, we're growers. Is that the one? We're not growing, we're showing? We're showing growing. We do it all. We grow and we show. We grow this show. All right, you guys, today we have a stacked show, okay? I spent all weekend really finding little things I want to talk about. Some of them are very, very just quick run of the mill, quick little things. And some of them, we're going to go deep. We're going to go hard. That's what she said. Daily dose. All right. Let's start with a couple big stories from this weekend. We'll start light. Let's start with Stassi. You guys, Stassi Schroeder Clark, her new last name is Clark, had her baby. She had her baby boy, and they named him Messer. Is it Messer Rise or Messer Reese? RHYS. I don't know how to pronounce it, but she is already mom to a 2-year-old Hartford Charlie, an adorable little daughter. She and her husband had the baby on, I believe it was September 7th. I just want to confirm. Yes, September 7th at 12:04 a.m. And it seems like everything went really well. And I think that, it's pronounced Reese. Thank you. And I think that, they'll probably call him Messi, and maybe he'll be a soccer player. I don't know. All I know about this is that I personally think that Stassi has really been such a, she still has controversy. If I mention her on the show, there's always going to be someone that's not a fan. But I truly believe that she has turned her life into such a great positive, she has a great family from what we're seeing. She seems to have it together. I love Bo. I think he seems great for her. And they seem like a really just normal family. I'm Team Stassi all the way. I don't know. I like her. So I am really happy to announce that all went well. It's always good to hear an arrival of a safe baby. All right, let's move on to another small mini story. Guys, Kyle Richards, she did the post and delete this morning. Kyle Richards pulled a Bethany. Now, those of you guys that know what Bethany's MO is on TikTok, what Bethany tends to do is she posts a TikTok that is either somewhat controversial, maybe a little crass, maybe a little rude, maybe a little out there. And then maybe the comments don't go her way or something, or someone on her team advises her, is what are you doing? And she'll delete it. So Kyle Richards has now done this 2 times. The first time she did this was on, it was right around this time when everything was coming out, right? It was very, very near around, I want to say July, all the stories were coming out about her and Morgan Wade. And then she announced that she was doing this documentary with Morgan. Morgan went to go perform in Chicago at Lollapalooza. If you guys know the date of that, you would know. I don't know if it was beginning of August, somewhere around there. Kyle posted a story, a picture of her and Morgan, very cute, very sweet, very together, on the river. And then she immediately, it was August 2nd. Thank you, Chris. Around August 2nd. And then she pulled the picture 10 minutes later. So she posted it, she pulled it. Today, this morning, Kyle, I woke up. You know how on Instagram, if someone posts a story like in the last minute or whatever, they get moved to the front of your bubbles? Does that make sense? You know how like the story bubbles. So it got moved to the front of the bubbles. Kyle Richards, this is like 5:30 this morning. And I see that she posted a few hours ago that she was at Reserve PS, which is a private, for LAX, it's like a private kind of terminal, I should say, where they, you can hang out, you can do your own thing. It's when you're traveling, and then they drive you straight to the plane. It's very shishi. It's very like, it's how the rich people travel commercial. And so she was there. No one knew where she was going. And then this morning, right when I went on to the Instagram stories, I see that she is doing some sort of a workout. I don't know if it's a treadmill. I don't know if it's a Peloton, but it's a screen, and it's saying like people's like scores. And she geotagged Paris and she wrote bonjour. So I immediately text my girl Eliza at Face Reality 16, who is just a dear friend of mine now. We text all the time, and Kyle blocked her. So I was just like, I want to make sure you see this. She is in Paris, and Morgan Wade is performing in Paris on September 13th. So Kyle has now joined her in Paris. She goes, send me the picture. I go back to her Instagram stories, gone. I can't believe I didn't screenshot this shit. What was I doing? I'm clearly not as good as I think I am. So Kyle Richards is in Paris with Morgan Wade, in case you're wondering if they're still hanging out. Sure thing. Sure thing. Okay, let's keep going. Another story. Drew Barrymore. Y'all, Drew Barrymore is essentially doing what is considered scab behavior. So there's a oh my God, WGA, and I'm thinking William Morris all of a sudden. There's a Writers Guild strike, right? We know that SAG, the Screen Actors Guild, and the writers are on strike. Drew Barrymore decided that even though writers are currently still picketing at the show lot on Monday, and her writers that are on the Drew Barrymore show are on strike and cannot work, she announced the return of her show on Sunday, saying, I made a choice to walk away from the MTV Film and Television Awards because I was the host and I had a direct conflict with what the strike was dealing with, which was studio streamers, film, and television. It was the first week of the strike, and so I did what I thought was the appropriate thing at the time to stand in solidarity for the writers. And to be clear, our talk show actually wrapped on April 20th, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Now she's saying, however, I am also making the choice to come back for the first time in the strike for our show because this is bigger than just me. I own this choice. We are in compliance with not discussing or promoting film and TV that is struck of any kind, so on and so forth. Okay. Here's the tricky part about this. It's a bad look for Drew. Okay. It's a bad look for Drew. And what's interesting is that Drew Barrymore, in my opinion, listen, we all have our thoughts about Drew. I think she's adorable and sweet and fun. She makes me a little bit uncomfortable when I watch her show because of all the close talking and the touching and the kneeling down and the hanging out like on top of her guests. I find it a little bit much, but I'm also the person that at parties, I'm always like, this is my dance space. That's your dance space, but she really, really, really likes to get close. She's a toucher, she's a toucher. That being said, she ultimately has very good press around her. Drew Barrymore can kind of do no wrong. She's one of those people. I feel like she is one of those people where people are very, they love Drew. She's a lovable character or person in this world. This is a bad look. And you can look at it from two parts because there's probably 200 people that are hired by the Drew Barrymore show. So she is coming back and giving them their jobs. And there's a lot of shows like podcasts or daily talk shows. Howard Stern types, Jeff Lewis types, or any of the big, podcasts, or Ryan Seacrest type shows, whatever. Those people are continuing to work. And they're essentially doing the same thing that Drew Barrymore does in a radio way, but it's okay. But this is not the Writers Guild and the SAG strike. It's not against podcasts in any way. This is not a good look for Drew. I don't know exactly how and why she's doing this. I don't know who's advising her that this is worth it. It's not a good look. Like Lance, my husband, is working on Dancing with the Stars right now, and he's not in SAG, and he's not in the Writers Guild, and he feels sick having to drive through the picket line to go to work because he has to, because there's always a picket line outside of any studio, and they shoot at a studio. And so he has to drive outside, through striking, coworkers. It's not a good feeling. So this is a very, very odd choice. You guys what do you guys think? A lot of you in the comments, one person I did see say, like, please don't tell me you're going to talk badly about Drew. I'm like, I think we have to. Kind of feel like we have to talk badly about Drew here. All right, let's keep going. Tom Sandoval. Got to bring it up. You guys, someone has reported to DeuxMoi that they were at Schwartz and Sandy's, which is Tom Sandoval's restaurant bar, over the weekend, and they ran into Greg. Now, if you are a doser and you've been around here since Sandoval days, I swear that was just my jeans rubbing against my chair. If you've been here since Sandoval days, you would know that, you would know that I always thought Greg was the guy. Bethany must listen to the show. I had a whole TikTok where I was like, where is Greg? Someone get Greg on the phone. Greg, come on Daily Dose of Donna. Well, apparently Bethany Frankel has reached out to Greg. Not only that, Greg said, and apparently, allegedly, just like brought out some sort of contract that he had with Lisa Vanderpump. They were trying to get him to use Schwartz and Sandy's in the next season of Vanderpump Rules, or at least Greg. He does not want to be on camera. He turned it down. He did say that Bethany had reached out to him to do a podcast, which I just think is hilarious. She doesn't even watch the show. Anyway, and Greg said that he has banned Sandoval from Schwartz and Sandy's. Tom Sandoval is banned from his own restaurant. He's only a very partial owner, but that's pretty, it's a pretty big move. Don't you guys think? I thought it was a pretty big move. All right. One more thing before we get into the Ashton of it all. Ashton and Mila. Let's talk about RHONY. You guys know I'm a huge advocate for the new RHONY. I've talked nothing but positive about it. And last night was the first time where I said, I don't know about this one. Now, I've seen the opposite. I've seen a lot of you guys say, oh my gosh, last night really got to me. I thought maybe, they're real people. So let me set the scene. They're in Anguilla, and they're over at some beautiful villa in Anguilla, right? 5 of them. And is it 5? 1, 2, 3, maybe 6. And we started there last week. They had some issues with Jenna because she didn't want to fly coach, et cetera, et cetera. This week, it starts kind of off that conversation, and then it moves into a couple other things. Here's the thing. Watching this episode made me feel like it was 6 of my friends going on a vacation, which is great, right? Which is great. It's very realistic. I can't afford that villa, and I don't eat as much as Sai. How annoying is the food and Sai? The editors are doing her dirty. Like, she can't really talk about food this much, right? There's no way that she's actually talking about food every 7 seconds. It's crazy. It's a little bit of addictive behavior, the conversation about food. It's insane. But do we want to watch this? So lots of the conversation was just about family trauma, childhood trauma. The biggest fight that there was is like a small little thing between Brynn and Aaron. And they keep, someone said it, that they're like, they'll kiss and make up. They're bipolar, right? Like they're making up, then they're breaking up, and they're getting in a fight, and then they're loving on each other. And it never turns into an actual real argument. Even when Brynn was hurt, and because basically she said this comment about getting her embryos frozen or whatever, or getting her eggs frozen. Even when she was hurt, she went to Aaron and she's like, I'm hurt, but I'm not hurt by you. And then they just cried and like hugged. They're very normal, right? It's very normal behavior between girls. I like it. And I also find it a little bit, like we're 6, 7, how many episodes in now? I feel like we got to get a little bit more. Like it always wraps up nicely in a bow at the end of the conversation. It doesn't feel like we are going to, something a little bit bigger. I agree, Storm. He says, I don't mind the low stakes drama. I don't either. But the family trauma now in every episode is like maybe a little bit, I don't know. We all have crazy family trauma, you guys. We all do, right? Like most of us do. I don't know. Finding it interesting. Okay. Don't look at comments, Donna. Keep it moving. Let's get into what I have spent my entire weekend focusing on, and that's the Ashton Kutcher and Mila Kunis of it all. Guys, let me give you a little update in case you didn't see this, because I didn't talk about it on Friday. Mila Kunis, or maybe I did talk about it on Friday, but very briefly. Friday was a weird day for me. Remember, I was all emotional and crazy. Mila Kunis and Ashton Kutcher both have been publicly seen as 2 of the 30 or more letters that were character letters written to the judge regarding Danny Masterson's sentencing. Those of you that haven't seen this, Danny Masterson, actor of the 70s show, The Ranch, a few different other projects through the years, and it's important to say, a very high-standing Scientologist, was convicted and found guilty of 2 cases of, sexual assault and rape. And it was just really bad. Like if you hear the details, okay, I'm not going to get deep into the details here. That's not the show that I want to do. I want to talk about the fact that we are looking at a very, very crazy, crazy dilemma that we've not really seen in public, which is Danny Masterson was convicted months ago. I can't remember exactly when. His sentencing date was on Thursday of this last week. So 10, 9, 8, 7, September 7th, I believe. On that day, he was sentenced to a crazy, crazy high sentence. 30 years to life. Okay. Life sentence, 30-year minimum, or 30-year until parole. This is a huge deal for 2 reasons. Number one, it's always a big deal when you see a celebrity getting sentenced, and a large sentence at that. And number 2, gonna say it, he's a Scientologist, and we usually don't see cases in Scientology being brought into this kind of real life world. Usually, from what we've seen in the Scientology religion, a lot of people can get away with behavior that wouldn't be deemed appropriate outside of the Scientology religion for various reasons. Now, I am not a Scientology expert, but lucky for you, Daily Dosers, I do have a huge guest later this week. I am speaking to him tomorrow. I believe it will be on Wednesday's show. I'll keep you guys posted over on Instagram and on Facebook. Aaron Smith Levin, he calls himself Aaron from Growing Up in Scientology is his YouTube channel. He has almost 200,000 subscribers on YouTube. He has broken this case down from top to bottom from the beginning. And this is where it gets interesting. 7 months ago, this guy Aaron, spoke about Ashton Kutcher. Now, Ashton Kutcher has been besties with Danny Masterson since the 70s show, 20 so years ago, right? 25 years. I'm trying to remember exactly the time. He's been besties with him. And they were the 70s show cast, minus Topher Grace, were a crazy crew. They partied their asses off. They would go out all the time. This was before we had social media to check in on every move. This is before we had camera phones. And there were some crazy, crazy times that they had partying it up together in those days. Allegedly, although we all know that it's true. Now, at the end of the day, a lot of shit went down in those early years with Danny Masterson treating or attacking women consistently, multiple, who have now finally been able to get their cases heard and finally have been able to put him behind bars, like I believe he deserves. Okay? Because I believe victims. Ashton has remained very close with Danny through these years. And I imagine Mila Kunis too, because she was also a guest star. I'm not a guest star, a co-star, also a series regular on That 70s Show. 14 years old, mind you, even though they were all obsessed with her, even though they were over 18. That's a story for another day. And now Mila and Ashton are married. And so I would imagine that all of them have been very close. Now, I got a DM from someone who worked on the Netflix show, The Ranch. And he told me in DMs, which I shared on my Instagram, a variety of things, mostly important, that Danny Masterson was the nicest man on set. Think about this, you guys. Danny Masterson was the nicest guy on set. He was always friendly, always lovely. People loved him. Wolf in sheep's clothing, right? Yeah, wolf in sheep's clothing. He was nicer, like predominantly nicer, according to the source, than Ashton. In fact, I've heard a lot of people say bad things about Ashton Kutcher in my DMs in the last few days, which is weird because in my opinion, Ashton Kutcher, from what we've seen, has a public persona of really, truly a great dude, right? Family man, husband, kids, always like really on top of social issues, really charitable, very smart, entrepreneur, friendly, happy-go-lucky. And he's married to Mila Kunis, who by all intents and purposes, like we've never ever heard negative stuff about Mila Kunis. She seems wonderful. So when you see a couple like that together, you wouldn't believe that they would actually not only be friends with and support someone who was being accused, but also support him so strongly when he was convicted and write letters of they wrote letters to the judge, both of them, that are like the way I would talk about, I don't know, like someone I want to, hire or like vote for to be my neighborhood, watch guy, like the most trusted, most esteemed, most amazing, most wonderful person out there. And if you have someone like that is like you're writing about them in such a way after, you guys remember this, and this is a big thing that a lot of you guys had questions with in the DMs because I was like really deep diving over the weekend. A lot of people were saying, yeah, but he wasn't like, they didn't know he was guilty. They believed him. They trusted that he didn't do it. And I said, no. This is after he was convicted. This was after he was told that he was guilty and they just hadn't sentenced him yet. So they were trying to get the judge to say like, Ashton Kutcher, the amazing Ashton Kutcher thinks he's a great guy. Let's give him less time. Now, remember, other people wrote letters. Deborah Rupp, she was the mother on the show. And, I don't want to say his name right, but the dad from the 70s show, Giovanni Ribisi, former, people that they worked with and agents, managers, et cetera, like 30 plus letters of support were written for Danny Masterson. It's not just Ashton and Mila. But let me ask you a question. If you are spending your time going in front of Congress and creating organizations to stop child sex trafficking, and if you're spending all your time and all your energy like trying to change the world for the better because you have daughters, why are you supporting someone who is a convicted, like violent, aggressive rapist? Guys, this is insanity if you think about it. Now, two things are happening here because I got a lot of DMs from people who have had to write character letters before. And one person I got said, I've had to do this. I've had to write a character letter before, but it was like a I can't remember exactly the specific of the case, but like a drunk driving situation. It was a mistake. You know, like accidental homicide type of situation where you by mistake do something bad and, you know, a bad thing happens. I don't believe why or who or what would tell Ashton and Mila to write these letters to the judge, except unless Danny had something on him. And this is the craziest theory, not like crazy theory. I mean, just craziest, deep diving, can't get enough of. Oh my God, tell me more, which is why I spent my entire weekend watching Aaron's channel, Growing Up in Scientology, on YouTube, because he has so much information. So essentially, let me look at the time. Okay. I hope you guys are into this conversation because I can't get enough of it. Well, let me finish off with the Ashton and Mila, what happened over the weekend, and then I'll go back a little bit. Ashton and Mila got found out with these letters. Okay. And I do believe two things can be true. I do believe that you can be an amazing, amazing person and have committed horrible, horrible crimes. I do think that world exists actually a lot. And in fact, one of my friends, she's a defense attorney, a criminal defense attorney. She commented on my post earlier. I'm actually going to go look if she commented back. And she said something that I thought was interesting. She goes, it's important to remember that not everyone, like there's more to people than what actions that they have committed, which I thought was an interesting comment. Remember, she is a criminal defense attorney. She said, what about this crazy idea? People are complicated and more. Why can't I see this? Hold on. What is this? What about this crazy idea? People are complicated and more than their worst actions. I'm so interested to hear what she has to say. We're going to be talking to Aaron Smith-Levin from Growing Up in Scientology. I also want to get like an attorney on here. I have a couple of people that I'm chatting about to speak on the show too, because I think it would be really, really interesting to hear from them why this letter would, happen. Who in the world? Now, I also got a little tea. I'm not going to say details, but I spent a little time over the weekend with someone who is someone who is in the representation world surrounding Ashton and Mila. Okay. And they said, I guarantee you that their agent never would have approved of this or okayed this action. There is absolutely no way that their team would have said, do it. I think that the family asked them and they responded and they said, okay, and never told or got advisement on it because they didn't think the letter was going to be revealed. See, they wrote the letters to the judge thinking it was going to stay sealed. But guess what? They all got revealed. I don't know if they got revealed for like specifically, like oh no, I know exactly, actually. According to Aaron, this man who's done major research on this, the judge, oh, this is good tea. The judge, Almeida, did not want to accept anything under sealed conditions. No evidence was sealed. Nothing was sealed. And Danny Masterson's defense attorneys knew that and still accepted those letters from Ashton and Mila without telling them that it wasn't going to be sealed. So Danny Masterson's defense attorneys screwed over Ashton and Mila by giving them leaving them under the impression that the letters they were going to write were actually not going to come out. Is that not insane? So anyway, Saturday morning, everyone's just still reeling from all of this. We get a notification. Oh my gosh, Ashton and Mila have released a 56-second video looking like they were in a hostage situation, right? Neither of them have slept. They're sitting outside on their porch. I don't know what they're doing. I don't know where they are. They have a phone. They're self-recording. And they read what can only be described as if they went onto ChatGPT and searched, please write a video script for how to get yourself out of a horrible mess in a public space. Thank you. It was quite possibly the worst video I've ever seen. I'm not really sure exactly who told them to say what they said, but regardless, it was a script. Ashton seemed a little bit more sincere. They definitely looked like they didn't. I mean, it was not a professional. They were very, very like pajamas, hair up, messy, like the whole thing, which could have been a choice, actually, because why would they want to look like really put together and pretty? I got the feeling Ashton came at it from like oh shit, we're in crisis, got to do this and got to look sad. And Mila came at it from a F you people. And I can't believe that you think I'm a bad person now. And I'm pissed and I'm mad that I have to do this video. And I'm going to do it in the worst acting that I've ever done ever. We believe victims. All victims, all the victims ever, all the victims I've ever heard out there speaking, I believe them. No, you don't. No, you don't. You don't believe the 3 victims of Danny's, because if you actually did believe them, you could never write that Danny was an amazing, amazing human being, knowing that he was capable of those disgusting, awful, violent actions, right? Like, it's a little weird. It ain't good for them. And I'm like, what in the world did they think that they were doing by getting on that camera and releasing that video, which then immediately got flooded with crazy negative comments, and they had to turn the comments off like that. But if anyone else has reposted it, like Page 6 reposted it, and like a bunch of other like editorial magazines reposted it on their Instagram, and the comments are mind-blowing. You guys know what? And here's the thing. I have had a couple of people come to me and say, I think I would write the letter. Like, I would see the other side. And I'm like, okay, but if you write the letter and you see the other side, then 2 things are happening. A, you don't believe the victims, so you actually don't believe that what is happening is true. Or B, you care more about him and his safety than the bad actions that he did. Someone just said, I think that they actually believe that he's innocent. I can tell you from someone else very, very, very close to this trial and to the Masterson family who I was talking to. Yes, they believe he's innocent. I don't know about Ashton and Mila, but people believe he's innocent. This person fully does. Fully thinks this was a framing situation. It goes to show it is an interesting thing, the court system and everything. I believe the victims, for you guys that are wondering, like, do I sound like I don't? No, I do. I do believe Danny Masterson is an awful POS. I do. It's just a freaking crazy story, but it gets deeper and it gets crazier because now we're going to get into, very briefly, because I don't want to go on too long, because part of the reason you love this show is because it's not too long. Then we're going to go into briefly Chrissy Bixler. So those of you guys that have been watching my stories, I talked about it a lot. Chrissy Bixler was a 5-year, 6-year live-in girlfriend of Danny Masterson at the time of these first 5 years of that 70s show. So the time that Ashton Kutcher was besties with Danny and they were going out all the time, she was in the mix. She was living with him. So she was spending a lot of time probably on set. She was going out with him every weekend. When she saw that Ashton and Mila wrote these letters, she released on her Instagram stories. I don't want to mess this up. If I mess up the actual words of what she said, that won't be good for me. But she said something along the lines of, I lost the page and I'm so annoyed by that. Sorry, guys. I would say this. She basically saying, "Dear Ashton," she writes it on a screen, like on an Instagram story. "Dear Ashton, I know the secrets your role model keeps for you, ones that would end you. Did you forget I was there? You were on speakerphone that night you called Danny on February 21st, 2001. I heard everything. I heard the plan. In my opinion, you're just as sick as your mentor." So everyone's like, what happened? What was that phone call on February 21st, 2001? Well, and remember, I'm giving you such a small version of what this story is. We're going to get deeper into this tomorrow and on Wednesday. February 21st, 2001, Ashton Kutcher was dating a girl named Ashley Ellerin here in Los Angeles and Hollywood. And he was going to a Grammys after party. And I want to say it's Grammys, and I hope I'm not wrong. And he went to go pick her up from her house and allegedly tried to open the door. It was locked. She wasn't picking up the phone. She wasn't coming to the door. He saw something that looked like red wine being spilled, ended up being blood. He didn't know that. And he left and he went to the party. And then the next morning, he found out that she was stabbed 47 times and killed. Okay? I know this is like crazy for Daily Dose of Donna because normally we're talking about like Sandoval and Kyle Richards, and being on Ozempic. So like this is a crazy, crazy turn, but I can't get enough of it. And I feel like from knowing you guys in this show, the things I'm obsessed with, you guys are obsessed with. So that's why I'm talking about it. This girl that he was seeing, Ashton Kutcher, Ashley Ellerin, was murdered, brutally murdered on this night of February 21st, 2001. So why did Ashton call Danny Masterson on speaker to talk about the plan that night? Well, according to Aaron Smith Levin, who is going to be on my show this week, from growing up in Scientology, I've said that a bunch of times, but I want to be very clear. This is who this guy is that's going to be on the show. He has said that according to Chrissy Bixler, who was there, Ashton did know that she was murdered. Ashton did see that she was stabbed. And instead of calling 911, he ran back to his car and he called his team, who gave him the advice of get out of there, go to the party, do not call 911, do not get your name connected with this murder. If you get your name connected with this murder, people are going to remember you for it. Not that they're going to think you're going to do it, but we don't even want to go there. You are a new actor. He was only 2 years on that 70s show. He wasn't a household name. Then, according to this ex-girlfriend, Ashton Kutcher called Danny Masterson and spoke to him for 1 hour about this plan. Maybe not an hour. Maybe I made that up, but spoke to him about this plan. And Danny corroborated with him on the plan and agreed with him on the plan. And Ashton went to that party. So Ashton knew that she had died or gotten murdered that night and went to a party. This is all according to Chrissy Bixler, Danny Masterson's ex, and according to Aaron Smith-Levin, who is growing up in Scientology. The videos are so interesting. If you're here on YouTube, or if you guys want to go to YouTube and watch it, beyond interesting. A lot of you guys are going to say, oh, this is just reaching. This is going too far. It's a little bit too on the nose for me, guys. Why is Ashton writing this letter? Why? More will be revealed this week on Daily Dose of Donna, which is no longer a pop culture podcast, and now it's a true crime podcast. Just kidding. It's never going to be a true crime podcast because other people do that so much better than I do. But it is so interesting because this is when true crime and pop culture collide. And the truth is, I couldn't spend an hour talking about, Uba and Jenna Lyons when you're talking about this. So Ashton and Mila are local Los Angeles parents. I know they have daughters around my kids' age. I know they go to school here in Los Angeles at, I'm not going deeper into that, but the point is, like, I see them around town a lot, right? I'll see them at coffee shops and restaurants in Studio City. Like, they are on, my level in terms of like being a mom, being a dad, like going back to school, sports, this, that, birthday parties. Like, what is happening there? I'm dying to know. Oh, guys, I am not saying that Ashton is responsible for the other girl getting murdered at all. Please, please, please know that. I am only repeating to you what I was hearing on these Instagram accounts and YouTube channels and deep diving. I don't believe, and actually they don't believe, that Ashton had anything to do with murdering Ashley. The murderer of Ashley actually came out to be known as the Hollywood Ripper. He was a serial killer. He murdered 3 women and attempted murder a 4th, all around the same time, in the same area, stabbing. Okay. So not one part of me is like trying to say Ashton had something to do with the murder. However, he was aware of it and didn't go straight to authorities because he was concerned about his career, which is almost worse. Not really, but almost worse. Like, it's pretty crazy. It's a crazy, crazy story. We'll get more into it, obviously, along with some other big stories that are going to come out this week, because they always do. They always do, like Bethany interviewing Greg from Schwartz and Sandy's. You guys, this is so much fun to talk about because I'm so obsessed with it. And I got so many DMs this morning saying, like, I'm patiently waiting for Daily Dose of Donna to drop today because they knew I was going to talk about it. I want to hear your guys' thoughts on this. Thank you so much for being here. I hope you guys continue to be here. See, I talk about it all, okay? I talk about all the topics. I just talk about what's interesting. Let's get into it on the Facebook group. Join. Thank you guys so much. See you tomorrow, dosers. You guys.